What are some examples of forced labor systems? Have you ever wondered how forced labor shaped the history of Latin America? Let's take a closer look at some examples of these systems and their impact. One of the earliest examples is the Encomienda system. This was established by Spanish colonists who were granted the right to extract labor and tribute from indigenous communities. In theory, encomenderos were to protect and instruct these communities in Christianity. However, in reality, it led to severe exploitation and abuse of native populations. Next, we have the Repartimiento system. This system replaced the Encomienda in certain areas. It required indigenous people to work for a set period on Spanish projects like agriculture, mining, or public works. While it aimed to be less abusive, it still forced natives into labor under colonial authority, disrupting their traditional lifestyles. Slavery is another significant forced labor system, especially through the transatlantic slave trade. Millions of Africans were brought to Latin America, where they were forced to work on plantations, in mines, and in households. The journey known as the Middle Passage was brutal and deadly. Once in the Americas, enslaved individuals faced harsh conditions but resisted in various ways, including escape and forming communities that preserved their cultural identities. Before European colonization, the Inca Mita system existed in the Andean region. This system required communities to provide labor for state projects like road building and agriculture on a rotational basis. While it was a form of communal service, the Spanish adapted it into a forced labor system to exploit indigenous workers in silver mines and other enterprises. These forced labor systems, Encomienda, Repartimiento, slavery, and Mita, were central to the colonial economy. They created rigid social hierarchies based on race and class, with indigenous peoples and Afro-descendants often at the bottom. The exploitation embedded in these systems fueled resentment and was a key cause behind revolutionary movements seeking independence and social justice in Latin America. Understanding these labor systems highlights the resilience and resistance of indigenous and African communities. They endured and challenged oppressive structures while shaping the cultural and social fabric of the region.